Hi, I'm Nikki from Teaching Autism, and welcome to the Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Are you an autism or special education professional? Are you a teacher or therapist looking for support and new ideas? You may even be a parent, family member, or carer. This podcast is perfect to help you find out more information, support, and get some of your questions answered. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. After so many questions from you guys wanting to know more about my Therapy Thursday sessions, I decided to put together this really quick podcast episode to talk you through Therapy Thursday. I'm going to be talking about what Therapy Thursday is, how it's worked for us and our students, and why I think you should try it too. So one of the most common questions I get when I talk about Therapy Thursday is, why did we decide to start Therapy Thursday? How did we come up with this? Well, you know that Thursday feeling where it's not quite Friday, but you're just so exhausted? Well, that's pretty much how us, the staff, and our students would feel on a Thursday. Then our students would go home and they were just so worn out and overtired. They would be quite challenging at home for their parents. And I know I was exhausted, and so were other members of staff. And we were going home and just crashing and burning because the week would have been so busy that by the time Thursday came around, we were just waiting for Friday afternoon and to just switch off for the weekend. So this is when we started to look at Thursday in a lot more detail. We were seeing a lot more behaviours on a Thursday, especially refusal to work. Staff were exhausted, patience was running thin, so we just decided that we needed to change a Thursday and we needed to take away all the usual lessons we had planned. And that's when we decided, instead of spreading our therapies out across the week, we were going to put them all into one day. Now, we were hesitant, I promise. We were, like a fish out of water. What would this mean, doing all our therapies in one day? Would it have a negative effect? How would we manage and plan it? Would there be repercussions for doing it all in one day? So we all just sat down together and had a good look at our timetable. And we really started to work out what therapies worked best for our students and if we could do these on a Thursday. Now, some of our most popular therapies with our students are art therapy, music therapy, sensory stories, sensology, and sensory trays. But we also really wanted to factor in time to work on life skills. Now, although this isn't really a therapy, we still decided to add it into our Therapy Thursday and making Therapy Thursday just more of a hands-on day as well. So from here, we decided to put together a schedule. We did need to tweak a few of our lesson plans, our weekly plans, but everyone was really on board with just giving this a go and really trying it. So I'm going to talk about our schedule here, just so you can sort of get an idea of what we would do. So at 9 a.m, our students arrive, and our staff are split up to help them arrive, sort their belongings, send them into class. And when the students go into class, they sit down for breakfast like our usual morning routine. And if you want to know more about our morning routine, I'll actually link it in the show notes for you today, whether you want to listen to it on the podcast or read the blog post about it. At 9:15, once that breakfast and morning routine was finished, the students would have choice. Now, I say choice, but we also rotate through our students, so we'll always have a student help us clear the table, wipe down the table mat, help us do the dishes. So we're working on life skills here every day as well. 9:30 is our first session of the day, and it consists of a life skills round robin. So every member of staff was placed in charge of a life skills activity on their own table, and we would get the students one at a time to come and work with us. So this consisted of activities like using our life skills finder, matching socks together, placing dirty clothes into the washing machine, washing them, then drying them either in the dryer or hanging outside. We would dress the teddy bear or our dolls for the correct weather outside, cleaning dishes, we'd do shopping games, tying shoelaces, zipping up and buttoning up clothes, and I have so many ways that you can work on life skills in your classroom. Just head to the show notes, there's a blog post there with just hundreds of ideas for you to try. At 10:20, this is when we do our set toileting. Now, we also do toileting through the day as needed, but we also have scheduled toileting sessions in there just to really work on, different life skills, reminding our students to go to the toilet, just being clean and washing our hands and things. And at 10:30 is playtime. So we have 2 members of staff go outside for playtime with the students, and then the other staff go on break. When playtime's over at 10:50, we start our toileting again. Now our staff will swap. So those who are outside for playtime, they go on break. And those who are on break, they come and take over once the toileting is finished. We never really do breaks while toileting's going on. It's just really hard to manage. 11 o'clock is our sensory story. So this is the perfect activity to do when you do have members of staff out on break. And I have a whole podcast where you can listen about sensory stories. And in this podcast show notes, I'm also going to link to a blog post where you can download a free copy of How to Catch an Elf sensory story script. Now, my students love sensory stories, and this is just a really great, calming, relaxing activity to do, especially after playtime and just before the rush for lunch as well. At 11:30, all my staff are back in the classroom, and this is when we have our sensory trays. So we actually, for this session, all sit around one huge table, and we've prepped a sensory tray for every student that contains different things. And we rotate the trays every 2 minutes so the students get a chance to work on each of the sensory trays. And over on my Instagram, I'm always sharing some amazing sensory tray ideas that you can try out here as well. At 11:45, we start our toileting routine again and really encouraging washing our hands and getting ready for lunch. Lunch is at 12, and all members of staff will sit at the table with the students to help them with their lunch, cutting up things, little things like that to assist them with their lunch skills. 12:30 is playtime, so the same members of staff who were outside for playtime this morning, they go out here again, and the other members of staff go on lunch. Our playtime finishes at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. When they come in, we'll do a quick check to make sure if anyone needs to do any toileting, washing their hands or anything, and the staff members swap again. So those who were on break, they come into the classroom. Those who are outside for playtime, they go on break. Now we'll sit down for our afternoon greeting, and we love to do this on the interactive whiteboard. And it's just really checking all our students in, checking how they're feeling, what's the weather outside, do you want a brain break, listen to them songs. And this generally lasts for around 10 minutes. It's quite a quick greeting. At 1:10, we would have a music therapist come in. So all our students would have the chance to play with instruments, sing along to songs, do some dancing, and music therapy is really great. I do recommend trialling that out as well if you can. At 1:30, all the staff are back in the room, and my students will have choice while we start prepping for art therapy. Now, art therapy, we like to start at 20:50, and I'm going to link as well for you to learn a little bit more about art therapy. But basically what we do for it is we have a different art therapy session going on every table, so like a round robin, just like with our life skills activities. And I'm going to link to our St. Patrick's theme one as well. And also, if you're part of my VIP membership, you get an art therapy lesson plan included every month for you to try out as well. But it's really about just providing some hands-on art sessions, really letting your students take the lead and just really expressing themselves and working creatively. Once art therapy is finished, and this usually goes on for about 20 minutes, so 2 o'clock, we'll give the students choice while staff sort of tidy up all the different tables and then start prepping for sensology. So sensology is a really fun session where we all sit in a group, and the aim of the session is to work on each of our students' senses. So I'm going to put in the show notes a link to our Valentine's sensology session to give you an idea about that. And again, if you're a VIP member, you get a sensology lesson plan every month included in the membership as well. But basically, we like to theme these. So the theme will either match our current theme and topic that we're working on in class that time, or it'll be holiday related. So like Valentine's Day, Easter. And we do it with an interactive whiteboard presentation, and there's a song for each of the senses. And for example, for touch, we would have a Valentine's Day sensory tray. Now the students can use this for mark making, you can ask them to find things just to work on their touch skills, And then after this, then we have to wash and dry our hands because they might be dirty after we've been playing in that sensory tray. Then we work on smell. So smell something related to that theme. So for Valentine's Day, it could be roses. It could be a candle. For taste, again, we're going to stick with something to that theme. So you could make heart biscuits. You could have healthy options as well. You know, we have before used little heart cookie cutters and we've cut bread out of them. We've cut fruit out of them. Pineapples are really great for this as well. So as I say, head over to the show notes, click on over and you can go check out that Valentine's Day one. Sensology tends to finish around 2:45. So it's one of our longest sessions, but the students love it and they'll sit for it, they take part in it, it's so much fun. At 2:45, this is when we start to rotate. So this is all hands on deck with staff and the students have choice while we also do toileting and brushing teeth, and there'll also be a member of staff filling in the homeschool communication books and helping to put everything away into the students' bags ready to go home. At 3:10, we call all the students over and they sit down by the interactive whiteboard ready for goodbye songs. And at 3:20, the students are dismissed. So honestly, the results for Therapy Thursday really spoke for themselves in so many ways. We saw so many fewer behaviours and a huge amount more of progression with our students. And best of all, everyone was really looking forward to a Thursday every week. Some weeks we would also mix things up and we'd have touch trust sessions, and it's just kept as a very therapeutic day with nothing too difficult or energy draining or demanding for the students. It made the week run much smoother and Fridays were a breeze now. We also had a huge amount of support and positive feedback from our parents. They kept telling us how much better their children were when they went home on a Thursday and they weren't as exhausted on the weekend anymore. So that's a really quick overview of what our Therapy Thursdays look like. Have I convinced you to try out Therapy Thursday with your students? Head over to the show notes and let me know. If you have a question, you can leave it there or you can send me an email on contact@teachingautism.co.uk and I would love to help you out. Be sure to head on over to the show notes where I've linked a whole bunch of helpful blog posts, podcast episodes and resources for you to use if you want to start a Therapy Thursday in your classroom. Thank you for listening and I'll speak to you again soon.